Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Hey. Today's email comes to us from Kalman from the Five Towns. He says he had a transformation, with your daf being the driving force behind my transformation, together with my Rebbe, Reb Blumenstein. He goes on to say, thank you, Reb Eli, for all you do, and also Yishkoyach to all the Chabura. Be'ezer Hashem, you should all be backing your base measure for the Siyum as well. Regards, Kalman. Thank you, Kalman. We're discussing what kind of bris milah pushes off Shabbos. The Mishnah tells us, Safek Milah. The pasuk which tells us that you could push off Shabbos for bris milah is from the word uvayim, but that same pasuk all the way at the end says arla soy. It has to be a definite arla. So therefore, a baby that was born bein hashmashos either on Friday or on Shabbos, since it's not definite what day it is, that Shabbos is not pushed off for bris milah. If a baby was born with a bris, and we're going to go into it, that's also a suffix which doesn't push off Shabbos. Androgynos has zachrus and akvos. Suffix, it doesn't push off Shabbos. And finally, we know that halacha, if a baby in the time of the Gemara was born in the 8th month, it's not viable, it's actually muktzah on Shabbos, you can't even touch it. The mother could only nurse it if she's bitzar or she's bisakana. So if we have a suffix, whether that baby was born in the 7th month, the end of the 7th, or in the 8th month, we don't know if that baby is viable, and therefore that baby's milah doesn't push off Shabbos. Androgynos, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is chayiv in a bris milah, and since it's chayiv in bris milah, it pushes off Shabbos, and if it doesn't perform in bris milah, he's chayiv kares. We have a machlokes here. What happens to a baby that was born with a bris milah? According to the Tanakama, if a baby was born with a bris milah, according to Bishamai, you have to do hatavas dam, you have to let out some blood, that's part of the milah, because Bishamai is concerned perhaps there is a arla here, just it's kavush, it blends in and you don't see it. Basically say we don't have to be concerned, and Rav paskins like this Tanakama. But Reb Shimon Elazar comes and says no. According to everybody, if a baby was born with a milah, you don't have to do atavas dam. Where's the machlokes? Only in a case where a ger comes to us with a ready-made bris. Does he have to do atavas dam according to Bishama? Yes. According to Beisil, no. And this is how Shmuel paskins. The Gemara tells us a very sad story of Adar Rahava paskin that you have to do hatavas dam even on Shabbos. He held that it's 100% arla kvusha. There's an arla here, just it's hidden, and therefore it requires a bris milah even on Shabbos. He searched and searched, 13 miles turned him down. They refused to perform a bris milah, so he was forced into doing his own milah. He performed the milah, but he injured the baby. He caused the baby to be a krushavcha. According to the Yushalmi, eventually the baby died. Either he himself davened that he should die, or the baby died. Ravasi tells us a tremendous chiddush. A baby only has a bris milah on the 8th day if the mother becomes tummy through the childbirth, and he brings from the psukim. But if, for instance, the mother does not become tummy because she gave birth with a cesarean, or let's say a giyores gave birth and then only afterwards she was toivel, the baby must have a bris milah on the first day. Don't ask any questions from Avram Avinu all the way to Matan Torah, where there was no tumah, yet they performed the bris milah on the 8th day. It's possible that when the Torah came, there was a new chiddush of tumah, and with that came a chiddush that if there is no tumah, then the bris milah is on the first day. There's a brayz that says that a child born with cesarean, or a child that has 2 arlais, either he has double layer skin or he has 2 milahs, machlokes, whether you machal Shabbos or not. But Shabbos and the 8th day are dependent on one another. In other words, you're not machal Shabbos only if it's a baby that was born on the 8th day. The Gemara tells us this is very similar to a big machlokes with Yilid Bayis and Miknas Kesef. We have 2 psukim that tell us that a slave that was either bought Miknas Kesef or a slave that was actually born in captivity by the Jewish owner, Yilid Bayis. In both cases, there's 2 possibilities. Either the bris is on the 8th day or the bris is on the first day. One pasuk tells us Uven Shmoinas Yamim, the bris must be performed on the 8th day. But then the pasuk right afterwards doesn't talk about what day. It just says Yilid Bayis Miknas Kesef. Therefore, we learn there's one case that the milah is on the 8th day, and one case the milah is on the first day. We have a Tanakama and Rav Chama. Tanakama holds that any time this baby, this Eved, is not similar to a Yisrael, he's not lochem, then the bris milah is performed on the first day. Rav Chama agrees to that concept, just he adds one more t'nai, and he says anytime the mother is not tmeya because of the leda, then the bris is on the first day. So we have like this. According to the Tanakama, if you bought a shivcha who was already pregnant and afterwards she gave birth, in other words, you purchased her, you purchased the Vlad, that's a miknas kesef, and that's a case that the baby has a meal on the 8th day. If you bought a shivcha and afterwards she became pregnant, that's considered yilid bayis. He was already by you when she became pregnant. Again, the meal is on the 8th day. If you bought a shivcha together with a baby, in other words, he was already born, that's miknas kesef, you bought the baby in that case has a meal on the first day. What if you bought a shivcha, but only for her offspring, nothing else? That's a case of yilid bayis. He was born by you, but the meal is only on the first day because that's not similar to lochem, to Yisrael. According to the Mandahama that says kinyan peris ke kinyan aguf, that is, you can't say I'm only buying offspring, because once you say offspring, that includes the mother as well, and then it is like a Yisrael. So the case is you bought a shivcha on condition not to be toiveler, and then it's not like Yisrael, and the milah is on the first day. According to Rav Chama, if she gave birth and afterwards she was toivel, then she didn't give birth betuma, so the milah is on the first day. If she was toivel and then she gave birth, then she's yilid bayis. Both of these cases are yilid bayis, but the milah is on the 8th because then she had tuma when she was giving birth. If you bought a shivcha who was pregnant and he was toiveler and then she gave birth, that's considered miknas kesef. The milah is on the 8th day. Finally, if he bought a shivcha only for her offspring, that's miknas kesef, which is only the milah is on the first day because he doesn't have a part of the mother, and therefore it's not similar to lochem. Have a wonderful day.